Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's prediction video for the Expanse Season 3. In this video, I will try to predict, at least somewhat, what might happen in Season 3 of the Expanse. Unfortunately, I will be relying very heavily on what happens in the novels to which the Expanse is based off of. Therefore, I have to give a very serious spoiler warning for all of the novels of the Expanse that have been released so far, all the way up to book 7. I will focus mostly on book 2 and 3 because that is what season 3 will be focusing on. However, we do know from season 2 that the Expanse TV show does incorporate certain characters and situations from future books as well a bit earlier, so I will unfortunately be covering future books as well all the way up to book 7. So if you haven't read all of the novels up to book 7, you will not want to watch this video, especially if you haven't read books 2 and 3. You definitely don't want to watch this video because I will spoil the hell out of what's about to happen in season 3. However, that being said, now I know some people said this when I did Game of Thrones prediction videos, and they were like, well, you're just saying what's happening in the book. How's that really a prediction? Well, because we don't know how the show is going to choose to adapt from the novels. Like, for example, I'm doing a series at the moment on The Expanse where I compare the book to the show, and there are tons of differences. So, and I think it's pretty apparent that the show, just like Game of Thrones, really, the show is diverging more from the novels the further it goes on. So the more the show goes on, the more it's going to diverge from the novels. George R. R. Martin famously called this the butterfly effect, in that changes like towards the beginning of the story will multiply and become worse and beget other changes the further the story goes. And I think the same is definitely true for the Expanse. So there's lots of things that I can predict. So this is, I don't want to get any comments saying, oh, it's not really a prediction. That's what I'm doing. I'm predicting what's going to happen in season 3 based off of what happens in the source material, because I don't know for sure. I'm actually pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of these predictions wrong because I don't know how the show is going to choose to adapt the books. But this is my best guess based off of just reading the novels and based off of how the show has adapted the novels so far. So, getting into my predictions. So, season 3 we know is going to begin halfway through book 2, much the way season 2 began halfway through book 1. So, at the point they're at now, yeah, it's kind of halfway. They have done some things out of order. For example, the finale of season 2 went back and forth between Holden having the proto-molecule monster on the Rocinante, and also Bobby Draper and Avasarala being on Jules Pierre Mal's ship and trying to take that over. In the novels, the proto-molecule monsters thing actually happened a bit earlier, like several chapters earlier than the stuff with Avasarala on the ship. So it's already slightly out of order for that, because there's a few things that's actually happened before that thing where Avasarala was in the ship, and I'm not sure if the show is going to skip over this or not. But there was a storyline about Prax trying to gather sympathy from the solar system for his missing daughter. So he makes like a video, puts it out there that he's making a video, and it goes viral, I guess, or their version, whatever the Expanse's version of viral is. It blows up. So he becomes like a huge public figure. Everyone wants to have sympathy for Prax. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the UN see that and they counter that, and they want to fight against that because, they want to keep the whole proto-molecule thing hidden. So they start off a counter propaganda campaign, which unfortunately involves his ex-wife They don't go into detail in the novels on how they manipulate her. Avasarala just knows that they did somehow, and where she's able to lie and say that he molested their daughter, which is of course total bullshit, and they're trying to turn popular opinion against Prax. Now, the question is whether or not they'll do this storyline in the show, and I'm leaning towards yes. I think this is kind of an important step, even though like in the novels they had already started it at this point. I think they're just, because they do some things out of order, and I think they're just saved this one for season 3, which I think actually makes sense. So it's actually going to be my bet that season 3 is going to begin, like the very first episode will probably, this is my prediction here, is that probably will mainly, at least to hold the Rosinante part, will be about this thing with Prax trying to, having this viral video where he gets a lot of money. And that's the other thing, because he wants to hire the Rosinante to track down his daughter even after they left Ganymede. And so he needs money to do that. So he doesn't have any money, so this is how he gets the money. I'm not sure, because in the novels, the Rosinante was more of like a ship for hire kind of thing than it's portrayed in the show. So they might not play that aspect of it as much, but still, I'm pretty sure they're going to do this whole... And plus, the whole viral thing, like Holden went out as well and put out this stuff that's trying to make people aware that there's a protomolecule on Ganymede and all that stuff. And that's, of course, another thing that the UN was really fighting against. Now, in the novels, like the whole time, Aaron Wright was like responsible for all this. In the show, it was actually Mars who was using the protocol monsters, but then towards the end of season 2, Aaron Wright killed the Martian ambassador and sort of threatened Jules Pierre Mound to take control back. None of that happened in the novels, but basically, where we're at season 3 is pretty much the same place. That Aaron Wright's back in charge. He's the one who's going to be working with Jules Pierre Mao with this protocol monsters. So I think it's going to fit right back into the storyline towards the second half of the book, where they're trying to discredit Holden. Now, the other thing, not only are they trying to discredit him, they also send Admiral Neum, who's sort of a... Sorry, I probably pronounced his name wrong. But anyway, he's sort of a more important character in the books, but we have seen him a bit in season 2 so far. He's like that, sort of evil asshole admiral guy who doesn't get along with Avasarala. I don't know if they've revealed in the show yet that he's working for Aaron Wright, but I think even like if they haven't revealed, it's pretty freaking obvious, even just for the show. So he sends a ship out to kill the Holden, to destroy the Rosinante, because just discrediting them isn't enough. And I also put out propaganda about trying to discredit Holden, saying that, oh, it's ridiculous, there's no protomolecule in Ganymede, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and stuff like that. And this is where Avasarala comes in, because in the novels, she was on Jules Pierre Mao's ship, traveling. In the show, she goes to meet him in space, and she gets trapped on the ship where Jules Pierre Mao fucks off. Where in the novel, she's sent on a mission on his ship, but same difference. I think she is going in the show. She's going to take over his ship, much in the same way she did in the books. Now, in the books, she finds out that all this shit's happening, where they're discrediting Prax and sending a ship to destroy Holden, and that's why she decides to take over Jules Pierre Mao's ship. But of course, they went a different direction with that at the end of season 2, so she already has control of his ship. But I think at this point, after she has control of the ship, that's when she's going to learn about all this stuff about the ship being sent to kill Holden, and so she's going to go to meet Holden, because that's what she does in the novels. In the novels, actually, they use the Razorback, Julie Mao's ship that was mentioned in season 1, which is very fast because they want to get there as fast as possible. So it was only a 2-person craft, so it's just Avasarala and Bobby Draper that go to the Rosinante very fast. I'm not sure if they'll keep that part of it in the show. They might just have her fly the whole Jules Pierre Mouse ship. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe they will have the Razorback. It would be a nice call because they did mention a lot in the show as well. But in the books, it was just her and Bobby Draper because Courtier was kind of a non-factor. Like in the show, he's an amalgamation of two different characters, one of which betrayed Avasarala, or of course that's not the thing with Cotier. Cotier in the novels, actually, he was only in the books for that one scene when they were on Jules Pierre Miles' ship. So he was her security while she was on that ship, and you didn't see him before that ship, and you didn't see him after that ship. He never appears again, I think. So that's led a lot of people to think that they're going to kill him off in the show because he's not really that... He's not in the books, really. But I think they're going to keep him alive. I think that he will go, even if they have the Razorback, they're going to make it changes so if it's 3 people instead of 2. And I think he will go with Bobby Draper and Avasarala to the Rocinante. That's just my guess. And the reason why I'm saying this, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but the reason why I think they're going to keep him alive is because Avasarala doesn't have a storyline in books 3 or 4 for that matter, and barely even 5. Well, she's a bit in 5, but kind of like a cameo. So that means after they cover the book 2 material, they're going to be right back to the same situation they were in season 1, where they have Avasarala as the main character, but she has no book storyline. So I think they're going to be put right back in that situation in the second half of season 3. And I don't think they're going to write her off the show. I think she's going to remain, until the very end of the show, she's going to remain a main central character with her own storyline. She's just going to go back to doing made-up stuff, really, after book 2 storyline is finished. So that's why I think Courtier is going to live, because she's going to need stuff to do while... Holden's off dealing with his book 3 storyline. They're going to need to, and I think they're going to need Courtier for that. So that's why I think he's going to be alive. So anyway, Avasarala, of course, goes boards with the Rocinante in order to stop Niam, if I'm pronouncing that right, Admiral Niam, however you say it, and Ehrenreich from killing Holden, destroying the Rocinante, because she's going to publicly broadcast to the solar system at large that she is on board, and she's actually going to use a lot of political maneuvering, and so basically she's operating, and the way Admiral Souther puts it, she's operating as a human shield because Niam and Ehrenreich cannot destroy the Rocinante with Avasarala aboard, because everyone knows she's aboard, and they'll know that that's no good, that they're up to no good. So that's how she's going to stay alive, and that's how she's going to keep Holden alive. But they still sort of, Niam and whatever, still track the Rocinante, and they're still up to no good. But they can't just outright destroy the Rocinante. So I think they'll keep that storyline. They'll keep the storyline with Bobby Draper going on, the Rocinante making friends with Alex. So here's another prediction. I predict that at the end of episode 1, we will see Avasarala aboard the Rocinante. And maybe that will be the big shocking ending. It's like, James Holden, what the fuck are you, doing her nasty thing. And we'll get this epic meetup of Avasarala finally. And that will be the end of episode 1. And then episode 2 will be all about them coming together. Now, and I would also predict that when we finally get a trailer for season 3, that it will show Holden and Avasarala meeting, because I think it will happen in episode 1, so it's going to happen fairly early, so they're going to show it right away in the trailer, be like, oh, epic meeting, because this is way more epic than it was in the novels, because in the novels, this is only, shortly after Avasarala was introduced anyway. She was introduced at the start of book 2. Halfway through book 2, she meets Holden. But here in the show, it's been 2 seasons. 2 full seasons of having Avasarala and Holden, but never meeting up. And we're finally going to get them to meet up, so it's going to be a lot more epic, and they're going to play into it. So this is going to be another thing, because all the Viewpoint characters, or the major ones, Bobby Draper, Avasarala, and Holden will all be in one place. And we know that the show is not like the novels. It doesn't like to stay in one place. It likes to have this Game of Thrones type, different locations, different things. So I think we might get a few Fred Johnson. Even though he wasn't really involved in the novels at this point, we could get a few storylines with him and Drummer. They might again bring in some Book 5 stuff. I hope not. But maybe, I don't know. But we know from casting news, a lot of these Book 3 characters have been introduced. Now, some of them I'll get to a bit later on. But actually, I'm kind of predicting that most of them are going to be introduced at the start of Season 3. So they're not going to wait for Book 3 material to begin. They're going to introduce them at the start of Season 3, even when they're still doing Book 2 material. Kind of like what they did with Bobby Draper, because Bobby Draper wasn't introduced until Book 2, but in Season 2, they introduced her right away, even when they were still doing Season 1 material. She was just off doing her own thing that took place actually chronologically before we met her in the books. I think we're going to get the same thing with Anna, the Pastor Anna, the priest or whatever. I kind of predict she's going to have a few scenes in the first couple episodes. I think they're going to introduce her in the very first scene. She'll be off doing her own thing. May have absolutely nothing to do with the main plot. May just be introducing her. But I think they're going to get us used to her beforehand. Now, another character we know is going to be introduced, has been cast, is Monica Stewart. Now, I think they have an opportunity here to introduce Monica Stewart earlier into the main storyline, because Avasarala uses the news feeds and whatnot to, get out this information. So I think that's when they're going to introduce Monica Stewart. Because in the novel, she's not introduced until the start of Book 3, when there's a storyline about a documentary crew going aboard the Rocinante to document. I'm dreading this, but I'll get to that later. So I think they're still going to do that, but I think they're going to introduce her earlier and have her be the main reporter that Avasarala talks to. Not in person, mind you. Will be like over whatever they call it. I was going to say subspace, but that's a Star Trek term. The wire, whatever it is, typing, whatever the fuck they call it in the Expanse. That is how Avasarala will be talking to Monica Stewart, but she will be the main reporter who will be reporting all this stuff about Prax, because Avasarala, totally destroys the propaganda they're putting out against Prax, saying that his ex-wife is actually mentally unstable, and it was very unprofessional for people to put her on TV because she's crazy. So it's a really good sort of political battle between Avasarala and Aaron Wright. And I think this is going to be, not only will this be continued in the show, I think they're going to up it. Because Aaron Wright, of course, is a much bigger presence, much bigger character in the show than he ever was in the book. So I think we're going to get a lot more direct confrontation. In fact, I think episodes 2 and 3 might deal with that. Now, another character from Book 3 I think is going to be introduced early is Clarissa Mal. Now, she's going to be a really important character for Book 3, as we know, people. If you're watching this, hopefully you already know this, that you read the book and you know. Clarissa, I think, because, and this is another thing, because her storyline in particular indicates there must be a time jump in between the Book 2 and the Book 3 material, because that's something the show, and the writers even talked about this, how the show want to try to blend the sort of times of the books and sort of make it flow into one story, because in the novels, each book is like a separate movie. Each book is like its own thing. It ends, and there's a huge time gap between each novel. Now, between Book 1 and 2, they really crunched it and made it seem like hardly any time had passed at all, maybe a month or two. But in the novels, it would suggest it was several years that passed between Book 1 and 2. But in Season 2, they try to blend it together as its one thing. I do see them doing the same thing with the gap between Book 2 and 3, but not Book 3 and 4, but I'll get to that later. It's impossible to do between Book 3 and 4, but talk about it later. And between book 2 and 3, I think they're going to try that thing. The only thing that's a real hindrance to doing it that way is Clarissa Mal. Because Clarissa Mal's storyline, of course, is she's on a revenge bent after James Holden because of him putting her father in jail. And he doesn't put her father in jail until the end of book 2. So it's kind of suggested that she's been on this quest for over a year, for months. So they're going to have to find a way, I think, they're going to find a way to sort of blend that storyline and make it a bit different. So there's only like a month or two would pass between his arrest and her quest for vengeance. So I think they're actually going to introduce her early as well. But of course she won't be all crazy. They'll introduce her probably with Jules Pierre Mal. So remember how I said we're going to focus all the main characters are going to be aboard the Rocinante. They're going to have to have other scenes to cut to. I think we might get, for the first time, some Jules Pierre Mal stuff where he will have his own storyline. I think Aaron Wright will be involved in that. So we'll see. We did get a few of that in season 2, actually, interactions between Mal and Aaron Wright. But I think we're going to get more in season 3. And I think that we're going to introduce Clarissa through that storyline before she goes crazy. And after, of course, we get to the end of the book 2 material, we'll see her go crazy, and it will sort of happen a bit faster where she gets the implants and goes after this quest to kill Holden. Hopefully not too fast. Hopefully, I think they can blend it to make it work. But anyway. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think they'll introduce those characters a bit early. Some of the other characters who we're actually not even sure, because those are the only ones from book 3 we know will be introduced, and I think they're going to be introduced at the start of season 3, which is why we know it already, why they made the casting announcement. Some of these other characters we don't know, such as Ashford or Bull or any of those, but if we do get any of them, it will be once book 3 material starts, so towards the end of or halfway through season 3. Anyway, so we get this huge, I think, in the novels, the Rocinante went to Tycho Station after, basically after where the storyline ends in season 2. But pretty much all the stuff they did in Tycho Station was already handled in season 2 when they went to Tycho Station. So they kind of did that in order, because in book 2, they didn't go to Tycho Station before going to Ganymede. They went straight to Ganymede. So they did that out of order. So I don't think they're going to go to Tycho Station in season 3. I think that's they did that out of order. That happened in season 2 already. They're not going to do it again. Plus, they're on bad terms with Fred Johnson, which I think they handled very poorly in the show personally, but that's the way it is. So they're on bad terms with him, so they're not going to go back to Tycho Station. But they introduced this new storyline that wasn't really the same thing as it was in the books, where Naomi gave the proto-molecule to Fred Johnson. In the books, of course, it was Holden who gave it to him at the end of book 1. So this is completely different, and Holden's like very pissed off with her, and they've interviews and stuff have implied that there's going to be a big falling out. So that's another thing I think will be handled in the first couple of episodes that wasn't in the novels, and maybe even before they meet up with Avasarala. But I think it's going to be taking place on the Rocinante itself. I don't think they can go to Tycho. But I think eventually they will sort of, make up or whatever. And then, of course, we get the huge, ship battle, where the fleets meet up, where you have Admiral Souther have some UN ships. She's on Avasarala's side, and there's Neum. He's on Aaron Wright's side, and they sort of almost a Civil War type thing. And the Rocinante, they find a way, working with Bobby Draper, to get Mars on their side as well. So it's like this huge collision. I think we're definitely going to get all that. Pretty similar to the way it happened in the books, and it's going to be like the huge battle, because the interviews, again, they sort of alluded to there's going to be a lot of huge battle scenes. And the other thing is, Prax, through his investigation, found out that his daughter is being held on Io, and that's where they have all the proto-molecule stuff. Definitely going to get that in the show as well. So they're going to go to Io, and that's where the huge showdown between these huge space fleets is probably going to be the biggest space battle we had in the show so far. Can't fucking wait. And then, of course, where the protomolecule, like the people, Protogen. Protogen's gone in the books, by the way, but in the show it still exists. But anyway, Protogen's going to shoot the protomolecule monsters out into space, and as one of them is going to go aboard Niam's ship, and they're going to be taken over by protocol monsters, and Holden's going to have to go on board in order to get this information, whatever. I can't, whatever. So they're going to do all that. I definitely think they're going to keep all that the same in the show. Definitely. We did get some pictures already of Amos and Prax wearing sort of like this battle uniform. So I think that's definitely when Prax and Amos go down to Io to rescue his daughter. So I think they're keeping that the same. It's still going to be Prax and Amos who go down, rescue the daughter. They're going to find the Strickland, whoever it was. I think, yeah, his name Dr. Strickland, and I think they're going to do it pretty much the same way where Amos kills him, and or was it Prax? Oh, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read the books. But yeah, someone's going to kill him, and they're going to rescue May, because we saw at the end of season 2 that May is still herself, and I think they're going to keep that the same. And that's why I think they're going to keep the storyline about Prax, like, asking help for his daughter, because that's why Strickland gives her up. It's like because he knows she's a public figure, and so he tries to do this to make nice, but of course it doesn't work. And Bobby Draper is going to be in their battle suit while Prax and Amos are inside the facility. She's going to be outside fighting the protocol monster, and Holden's going to be on board the other ship. And I think they're going, because they didn't really have a storyline that much for Naomi and Avasarala on the Rosinante while all this shit was going down. Kind of did, but I think they're going to upplay that in the show. So what I heard, and I'm not entirely sure about this, but from what I heard is this is going to happen, like, all be wrapped up by episode 6. Like, episode 6 is going to be the huge battle thing, and that's where books 2 storyline is going to end. Which makes sense. That makes sense to me. That seems to fit with the timeline. I think that would make total sense. But, so, in the novels, they arrest Jules Pierre Mao. I think that's definitely going to happen, because they need Clarissa's storyline to kick forward, and we already know Clarissa is going to be in the show. And so I think they're definitely, she's a major, cog or whatever that keeps the book 3 storyline going. So they definitely need to keep that the same. However, I think the battle with Niam, like in the book, I'm saying his name wrong, I'm sorry, but the Admiral guy, in the book, he was sort of the main villain. I think the show's it's still going to have him be the one there, but they're going to find a way to make Aaron Wright the focus more, if you know what I'm saying. Because he's always been the main villain, the main focus in Avasarala's storyline. So I think they're going to find a way to focus more on him. But I think Niam is going to still be on the ship, and he's going to refuse to give up the information and wants to be rescued, and Holden's not going to rescue him because he's infected with the protomolecule disease, so he has going to have to kill him. So that's going to play out the same. But I think they might do something different with Aaron Wright. I think he's going to survive. He might be discredited and disgraced and possibly fired, or maybe not. Maybe he'll find a way to dodge all responsibility and pin it all on Liam and say, and Mal, and say it's their fault. I had nothing to do with it, and Avasarala is not going to have anything on him. Now again, the reason why I think this is getting back to Avasarala needs something to do during book 3. And I think and plus Aaron Wright's been such a major character in the show, and such a, like, the foil for Avasarala. I think they're going to keep him for that. So I think they're going to invent a whole new storyline that will probably tie more into the book 5 stuff, because they are bringing a lot of the book 5 stuff earlier. But find some way to tie that into Aaron Wright and Avasarala, and Bobby Draper, by the way, because Bobby Draper also has nothing to do during book 3. So I don't think in the show they're going to keep Bobby Draper on board the Rosinante to be involved with the gate stuff. I think she's going to stick with Avasarala, and they're going to be doing their own thing totally off book involving Aaron Wright and Cotillard and people like that. Anyway, my wild guess. So, alright, now let me get into book 3, because book 3, when I first read it, this really threw me for a loop, and I was really curious that how the show was going to adapt this, because books 1 and 2, it was quite easy to flow them together because they're kind of very similar, but book 3, the way it's written, it's like its own unique story that doesn't really, it's really different. It's a very left turn from the first 2 novels. So I was actually thinking maybe the show would bypass it altogether, but then there's the ring system, which is like the important, like you can't leave that out because that is a domino effect for absolutely everything that happens in the later books. It's a real game changer, but we already know, because the interviews with the actors, they mention a gate, and anyone involved with the show says that season 3 will cover book 3, Abaddon's Gate. And plus, as I said, they already introduced characters like Clarissa, Anna, so we know that they're doing the book 3 storyline. However, I don't think it's going to be as centered on it, because in book 3, that's all you get. You get this one storyline at the gate. You have different viewpoint characters like Anna and Bull, but they're all in one general location. Eventually, pretty early actually, they all arrive at this gate system, which they still have to establish in the show, by the way. There was one issue I had with the novels, because it seemed like at the end of book 2, they barely mentioned this floating ring thing. Of course, that's shot up from Venus, and that went out towards like Uranus. And they barely mentioned that, and all of a sudden at the start of book 3 is this established thing. Like, and it was very jarring for me, so I hope they handle this. I think the show's going to handle that a bit better. It's going to explain more about it, and of course, it's going to up the time frame, because as I said in the books, it was like sitting there for like a year or so, and they're not going to have like a time jump like that. So I think it's going to be, it's going to flow a bit more quicker, and yeah, things are going to happen quicker in the show, which is fine. So we're definitely gonna get the book 3 stuff where Holden is going to be framed, like where Mars wants the ship back and all this. We find out it's Clarissa who's setting this all up so she can kill him. All this is gonna happen, and Monica Stewart and her team, documentary team, and I know, and I was even predicted this when I read the books, but we're gonna get an episode, and I hate episodes like this, like shows like Battlestar Galactica and a few other sci-fi shows. I've always done this. It always annoyed the fuck out of me, but as soon as I read the Monica Stewart character, I was like, yep, we're getting an episode like that. So I think we're get one episode in season 3, probably like episode 7 or 8 or 9 or something. That's all going to be like from the documentary point of view. You're going to have the documentary camera. You're going to get the sit-on interviews like they do with reality shows where they're going to be interviewing. Like in the books, Holden was the only one who agreed to be interviewed, but I'm sure they'll have like different people, and they'll see the camera with the record sign up top, and I fucking hate that style, but I know it's coming. It's coming. We're going to get an episode like that, so whatever, that's fine. And then like Anna, who, as I said, I think will be introduced earlier on, her storyline will start to clash when we get into the gate stuff, and she's going to be on board with the other people, and I think they're going to find a way to make her more relevant to the main storyline earlier. Now, big question. Are we going to get the storyline on the Behemoth with like Mucho Pa and Bull and Ashford? Because I've heard some people suggest maybe not, but I really don't see how. Again, I think it's a very integral part, especially Ashford. I really do not see them getting rid of Ashford in the show entirely, because he has a major role to play in like the mutiny and and there's like a huge deathly battle at the end of book 3. I mean, I suppose it's possible the show might skip that and just focus on the Clarissa stuff. Because here's the thing about book 3. When I was reading it, I thought, unlike books 1 and 2, I thought there was a very clear halfway point that would be the perfect place to end season 3. Because, you know, they love to end seasons halfway through the book. With book 1 and 2, it wasn't as clear. But with book 3, I think it was very fucking clear. Because the first half deals with Clarissa and her and Holden going over to the aliens and attacking them and all that. And, everyone thinking that Holden's attacking because Clarissa puts this thing on the Rocinante that makes it look like it's attacking everyone or that's blowing up ships. And I think they can keep that the same for sure. So anyway, that's the first half of the novel. The second half of the novel deals with the mutiny on the Behemoth with Ashford and all that. So there's a very clear place to end season 3. Some people speculate that maybe they're only going to do the first half. And then season 4, they're just going to skip that Ashford stuff and go straight to something else. I don't think so, personally. This is where I'd wage my bets. I think Ashford's kind of integral to the whole story because he's an asshole who takes over, who tries to, everyone. And she's also very important. He's also very important to Anna's storyline because she doesn't actually have that much to do in the Clarissa stuff. She has more to do, although she does take on Clarissa, but still, she has more to do in the stuff with the mutiny on the Behemoth. And I really think we're going to get this storyline, even if they save it till season 4, as I said. But here's the thing: we do know that they said that there's only going to be 7 seasons of The Expanse, and they're 9 books. So what gives? It does make me wonder if they're going to start speeding things along. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they went a different direction and they sped up the book 3 stuff and end season 3 with the end of book 3. And I think it's possible. I think, like, the stuff with the mutiny, I think they can still fit in all the Clarissa stuff and all the Ashford stuff in one season, even if the first half of the season deals with book 2. Because we have like 10 or so episodes, and the stuff takes on the book because the book sort of has all these different viewpoint characters, which I think the show can cut through and condense. They can condense both these storylines down to fit into one season if they like. Now here's the reason why I think they're going to end the book 3 stuff at the end of season 3, and that's because book 4 takes place several years after book 3, and book 4 needs to. Like, it's impossible because there's a whole. If you read the books, like book 4 has it's about colonized worlds through the gates, and there's no, like, as I said, they were doing with the end of book 1 and 2 and books 2 and 3, where they're going to smush them together. Impossible for them to do that with book 3 and 4 because they need to have a big time jump in between to set up these different worlds. So I think one way or another book 3 is going to end where season 3 ends. However, there's another line of thinking that I heard, and I definitely think this is a possibility, that they're not going to do book 4 at all. They're going to skip right over the book 4 stuff and go straight to book 5. And I think, because I was actually thinking that was a strong possibility to myself. Because as I said, with book 3 was kind of like a standalone, like totally different for the first 2 books. Book 4 is even more so. Even more so, it's because it takes place on one of the alien worlds that's on the other side of the gate, Ellis, and the whole entire book takes place on that world. And I cannot see the show doing that. I cannot see them spending a whole entire season just neglecting the Belters and everything, and Avasarala and everything we know going on in the system. But I think it's possible that they could keep the Ellis storyline in, but then have that just be one storyline, not the main focus of the entire season, and still have stuff going on back in the solar system with Fred Johnson, Avasarala, and Bobby Draper, and just make stuff up. And maybe sort of introduce elements of the book 5 stuff, which, of course, they have. But then there's that 7-season thing. And so if you're thinking, well, there's only going to be 7 seasons, how do you condense it? Well, let's cut out Ellis. But the thing I'm thinking is the Ellis stuff is kind of vital to the book 7 storyline and book 8 or 9, which haven't been released yet. But if you read the books, you know what the deal is. 7, 8, and 9 sort of make up their own thing. Or will, probably, unless they do 9 as its own thing anyway. But yeah, there's like a 30 or 20 year time jump between books 6 and 7. So they're pretty much its own thing. And you can't really have that because it's all about the different colonized worlds. I suppose you could have it without Illis, but I don't know. The Illis thing was very important. And of course, the other major part that goes with the Illis storyline is the investigator Miller. Are we going to get Thomas Jane back in season 3 as the delusional, the hallucination that Holden happens? Because remember in the novels, he starts having this hallucination at the end of book 2, so he has it all throughout book 3. I hope that they do. We, of course, haven't heard anything about Thomas Jane returning to the show, but come on, let's be honest. Even if he did return to the show, they wouldn't let this slip before the season starts. They would save this. So, because we don't know, we haven't heard anything, doesn't mean anything. He still could be... I think the Investigator Miller stuff is kind of vital, especially even to the Abaddon Gate storyline, because the stuff with the gatekeepers and it goes on. I mean, I suppose it's possible they could do it without him, but I just don't want them to. I just think it would be much better if they did, but I know if they don't, then I will kind of take that as a sign that they are skipping over the Illis stuff, and because you can't have the Illis stuff without Investigator Miller. So if we don't see Thomas Jane in season 3, I will take that as a sign we're skipping over Illis and going, because the main thing is like the book 5 and 6 storyline was more in keeping with the tone of the first 2 seasons. So I do get that some people are thinking they'll go straight to that, but that's why I thought they might skip the gate thing entirely, but we are getting the gate thing. So that does make me think, well, they might explore other worlds as well, but find ways to bring some of these book 5 elements in earlier and maybe blend it, so maybe some of this book 5 stuff could be happening at the same time as the Illis stuff. Like maybe Naomi doesn't go to Illis with the Rosinante and she stays behind and does the shit with Marco at the same time they're in Illis. So that's the way they could sort of blend it and have it sort of condense and have it happening at the same time. That way it's not as disjointed as the novels are. I kind of vote for that, actually. If I'm going to make a solid prediction, that's kind of what I predict. I think that Holden and a few others will go to, Illis, and they'll just skip over Holden's book 5 stuff with Johnson, which wasn't... They kind of already integrated that stuff into season 2, if we're going to be honest, with, invaders trying to take over, sections of the OPA trying to take over Tycho Station. Like, that's already done in season 2, and that stuff was season 5. So... Actually, I'm making a pretty solid prediction line. So I predict they're going to cut that out, because that's why they did that stuff earlier, because they're not going to have Holden in the solar system. He's going to be in Illis with maybe Alex, and because they'll cut out his stuff in Mars. And maybe they'll even have Bobby Draper or someone out there with them. They'll go to Illis, and Naomi's going to stay in the solar system. Maybe Amos is going to go into his Earth stuff, or they could cut that out altogether, because that wasn't that vital to the... Although it's about him bringing on Clarissa, but they could find some way to get Clarissa back. But anyway, I think... So, I don't think they're going to cut out book 4. I think they're going to find a way to integrate book 4 and 5 and have them happening concurrently somehow. And then, of course, they'll get back from Illis, and Holden and all them will be back for the book 6 storyline, which is vital, or at the end of book 5 anyway, when they finally meet up with Naomi, and that's when the other seasons, and that's how they're going to shorten it. Now, I've heard a lot of theories that Duarte will be introduced in season 3. And there's a famous actor, kind of blanking on his name. I talked about him in the last video that I did, who's been confirmed for season 3. And I thought maybe he might play Ashford, but I got several comments people saying, well, maybe it might be more likely that he's playing Duarte, because Duarte, of course, hopefully you read the novels, you know who he is. He was introduced in book 5, where Alex meets him and has an interview with him, and then later at the end of book 5 we find out he goes off to one of the other worlds and steals all the Martian ships, and becomes the big bad guy in book 7. 30 years have passed, and he's like this huge emperor who tries to conquer the entire galaxy, kind of like Palpatine. Sort of. So he's the big bad guy for book 7. I really hope that they don't introduce him in season 3. I think that'd be way too early. If anything, like if what I'm saying is coming to pass, where they blend books 4 and 5 together, introduce him then, that's fine. But I think it's too early to get him, because we know they're doing Abaddon's Gate stuff, and I think to do that stuff with the Gate and have him there as well is a bit too much. And if they did introduce him, I think it needs to be like one scene, like a cameo, hello, and that's it. Which I don't see why they need to do that. Why not just hold off to season 4? That's what I'm saying. So that's my prediction. My prediction is no Duarte until at the very least season 4. But, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong about this, but that's just where I'm leaning. So I actually think the guy's name I forgot is going to play Ashford, because I think you need to have Ashford. But again, could be totally wrong about this. And plus, he has like the long, tall, lanky look. He looks more like a Belter than a Martian to me. But I could be totally wrong about this. But that's where I'd place my bets. And plus, here's another possibility I'll throw out there. What if instead of cutting out Illis and book 4 stuff, they just cut out the book 7, 8, and 9? Like they find a way to end the novels at pretty much at the end of book 6, and maybe they incorporate the proto-molecule stuff more into the own solar system with Kosazar, because that is an argument for Duarte being introduced earlier, because they introduced Cortazar, who's a book 5 character. They introduced him in season 2, at the start of season 2. So if they can introduce someone that early, they could introduce Duarte that early. But maybe, and I don't think we'll get much of Kotazar, and who's off with, God damn it, Dolls. Who's off with Dolls. And that's a completely different storyline than the books. Like, Dolls is a totally different character. So again, I think they're going to make something up, do something totally different with those guys. In fact, maybe the Dolls and Kotazar, they'll be involved in the made-up storyline with Alva Sorella and Aaron Wright and all of them. Maybe that's what's going to happen. And it's going to have nothing to do with Duarte. Maybe there will be no Laconia. There'll be no Duarte. They'll just end the season at the end of book 6, but they'll find a way to incorporate some elements from the later books, but have it take place inside the solar system with Cortazar. And here's my reasoning behind that speculation, is because there's like, as I said before, there's like a 20 or 30 year, I can't remember exactly how long, but there's like a 20 and 30 year jump in between books 6 and 7. Holden's like in his 60s or in his 50s in his 60s, I think. I really do not see the show doing that. And you can say, oh, maybe they'll do book 7 and 8 and 9, but not have the time jump. Impossible, because the whole storyline's about Laconia being this huge empire, and they need 30 years to become a huge empire. I mean, I suppose they could make up like this time travel, time difference thing in the show to have them say, oh, they were actually 30 years past for Laconia, but it hasn't passed for that. That would be dumb. I hope they don't do that. But they could, hypothetically. But I just don't see them doing a time jump where all the main characters have to wear old man makeup for the rest of the show. I just do not see that. But, again, I'm talking like, this is like endgame, like several years from now, like season 7, season 6 stuff, which who knows if the show will even make it that long, because sci-fi are motherfuckers and they're notorious for canceling good shows before they get to finish. They better not fucking do it with The Expanse. But anyway, happy thoughts. Still, so maybe all the speculation is nothing. But it's long games, the long term. But it kind of affects season 3 in the term of, will they have Ashford or will they have Duarte? I'm thinking that they won't have Duarte. I think they will have Ashford. But, again, maybe completely wrong. I could be totally wrong. Now, whether or not they have Bull is a good question. Now, someone actually said that you can't have Ashford without Michio Paul. I disagree. I don't think she was that vital to the book 3 storyline. Like, I think your character could easily be either cut out or replaced with a different character. Hell, they could have Drummer, go on board, and maybe they won't have Bull. Maybe Drummer will take the place of both Paul and Bull. I know, which sounds weird because the two were, butting heads with each other, but I think they'll probably just cut out that storyline altogether. And that's another way how I think they might be able to finish book 3 by the end of season 3, is they cut out a lot of the stuff with Bull, which took up a lot of book 3, and they condense it all. And maybe they just have Drummer be the first officer for Ashford, and Ashford goes in this mutiny, and Drummer sort of plays the role of both Pa and Bull. Hey, I'm going to stick with that. That's my prediction. That Drummer is that Johnson's going to send, and they'll have Johnson will be in season 3 at the start with Drummer, and once this gate's discovered or whatever, the floating thing that floats from Venus over to Uranus, that he's going to send the Behemoth. It was called the Nauvoo. I don't think it's called the Behemoth yet in the show, but it will be soon. He's going to send that with Drummer and Ashford. And Drummer's going to take the place of Bull's storyline and team up with Holden to defeat Ashford and the mutiny. That's my prediction for the end of season 3. Anyway, I've talked a lot now. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have read the books. Otherwise, I just spoiled a fuck ton of shit for you. Sorry about that, but I did warn you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have your own predictions or thoughts on my predictions, if you totally disagree with some of the stuff I said, perfectly great. In fact, I want to hear about it. Put it in the comments below, civilly. Of course, obviously, I don't want to hear about what a big fucking idiot I am, but if you completely disagree with what I said here, cool. Great, I want to hear about it. I want to hear your predictions. Might be shocking for you to hear, but I have been wrong in the past, and other commenters have been correct, so certainly could be the case here. Love to hear your different theories. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening to this. I'm continuing to do my coverage of the book to show comparison of the Expanse novels, where I compare each episode of the Expanse to the source material. If you haven't watched these videos, please check them out. If you're book readers, you read the books, I'm sure you'll really enjoy them. Anyway, be sure to subscribe, and thanks a lot for watching.